According to Reuters on October 20th, Sweden banned all companies participating in spectrum auctions from using Huawei and ZTE equipment. Russia and the CCP questioned the research activities of biological labs in the US. On October 20th, the Chinese military aircraft harassed Taiwan airspace twice without being affected by the typhoon. The U.S. Department of Security said on the 20th that the CCP supports hackers backstage to undermine U.S. cybersecurity.
This is CCP's Social Stability Squad at work in a small county. In a small county, CCP's Social Stability Team goes to work in the morning, a shocking number for such a small town.
Real name registration is required to buy bottled gas in Beijing.
In Communist China, people's land can be arbitrarily confiscated by the CCP. In Guangxi Province, the Zhenhuang Township government forcibly requisitioned farmers' land in the name of highway construction and destroyed fruit trees in the orchard.
In response to CCP's policy, conversion of tree land to farmland starts. Chinese scholar tree and the Lagerstroemia indicia just a year ago are all dug up. What a pity.
Mianyang, Sichuan recorded a 4.6 Richter scale earthquake. The ground is noticeably shaken.
In Communist China, students are forced to make choices between father, mother, grandpa, grandma, and other family members. This is malevolent.
Food poisoning among dozens of students in Zhoukou, Henan Province, October 19, 2020, Luyi, Henan. Look at these poor kids. Many students in Zhoukou started throwing up after meals. My daughter came home yesterday afternoon. She didn't feel well and started vomiting. I took her to the hospital. The township hospital are full of child patients with almost the same symptoms, vomiting and dizziness. We transferred our kid to the county hospital for better treatment. Luckily, she's okay now. How many students reported problems? I know dozens of them, and some adults too. Of all the village kids who go to school there, only one child is completely fine because he went back home for lunch. Everyone else got sick. The publicity department of Luyi County said, "Our investigation has excluded the possibility of intentional poisoning. We suspect that a steam bread shop was contaminated by machine oil leakage during processing. Currently, all the food samples have been sent for testing. Details will be confirmed after further investigation." By 9 a.m. October 20th, all 26 hospitalized students have returned to school.
On October 20th, Tian Baoguo, Deputy Director of the Department of Social Development, Ministry of Science and Technology, said, "At present, China's vaccine research and development is in a leading position. 4 vaccines have entered phase 3 clinical trials. Up to now, about 60,000 subjects have been vaccinated. No serious adverse reaction report has been received." What is the definition of serious adverse reaction? As always, CCP plays word games.
This is an ominous sign of CCP's imminent demise. A large portion of the Shuangcheng District Government's building collapsed. This is the government building of Shuangcheng District. The inside collapsed. These government officials in Shuangcheng District have all gone to jail. Look at this big hole. Here's the lobby. It all collapsed. What's the cause of the collapse? It's because of the corrupt officials. We should punish those corrupt officials. They must be punished. They never worked for the people. They messed up their projects.
A traffic cop killed someone when he was inspecting a vehicle. The CCP system is the source of all evils.
A surveillance station is built on the tree to watch everyone. This station used to be at the bottom of the valley. There are many blind spots because the road branched into too many small roads.
The pro-democratic activists demanded the Secretary for Security Li Jiashao answer the question over the 12 Hong Kong heroes being detained in mainland China. They protest against the unreasonable prosecution of city residents and call for releasing the 12 Hong Kongers immediately.
The whistleblower movement members in Texas held a demonstration exposing Bob Fu as a fake pastor and a spy working for the CCP. The protest was peaceful and orderly. But the mayor of Midland was bought off by the CCP. He accused the peaceful protesters of being communist thugs. This is the 16th day of the action to expose CCP spies. This is the scene of the peaceful protest exposing fake pastor Bob Fu.
Members of the whistleblower movement were spreading the truth of the pandemic in Italy. I will try to say thank you in Chinese. The honor is all mine. I'm very proud to be here today. I'm a little nervous. Italians, I love you guys. What I want to say is, as a Chinese living in Italy, I love Italian people. Thank you, everyone. But first of all, we must know, CCP does not represent Chinese people. Chinese people want democracy, freedom, and dignity. The CCP made this virus. The virus came from the Wuhan P4 lab. The CCP destroyed the global economy and medical systems. They destroyed our way of life. If you want to save yourselves, your wealth and family relatives, then you should know the truth. Chinese people want to protest. CCP does not represent Chinese people. The CCP does not represent me. I will make some further comments. The CCP tyranny is not limited to their massacre in Hong Kong. Now it's also happening in Inner Mongolia. Right now, Mongolians are fighting for their right to learn their mother tongue. We say we are proud of you, such outstanding ethnic groups. I hope one day we will meet again at Times Square, just like many years ago. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, brave lady.
The FBI's had this since December of last year. I believe the President of the United States is going to have a direct conversation with the head of the FBI to say what is going on here, right? If you had come forward with any of this, one, the president wouldn't have been impeached. The whole country could have focused on the pandemic. And Bernie Sanders would be or Elizabeth Warren would be the nominee for the Democratic Party. This shows you once again the FBI getting involved in a presidential election. Questions have to be answered. This is not about a son's drug problem. This is about a father's national security problem. The Chinese involvement here is inextricably linked with the policies of Joe Biden when he was in charge of the pivot to Asia during the Obama administration. And you've got a whole slew of, and now with Peter Schweitzer, they're coming forward, the 26,000 emails they have, you have a set pattern over the last 10 years of the Biden family being involved in giving access to Chinese Communist Party intelligence assets. Okay, Chinese Communist Party intelligence assets with their front as businessmen, right, coming in and getting access to Joe Biden as Vice President of the United States, and then afterwards when Joe Biden was prepping his presidential run. This is a scandal of major proportions. The mainstream media backing off this and talk about Russian disinformation, and social media shutting this story down is actually making it bigger, and it's making it bigger to those people who matter. Mid and low information voters that are kind of making their mind up of whether even to go to the polls. This is not about persuasion. It's about getting people out to vote. You're not going to be able to mute Donald Trump's voice and Donald Trump's righteous indignation about what the nation needs to hear.
Welcome back. We have this Fox Business alert right now. The Justice Department is set to file an antitrust suit against Google today. This is according to the Wall Street Journal right now. They're breaking this news right now. The lawsuit will allege the technology giant engaged in anti-competitive conduct to preserve monopolies in search and search advertising. We know that Google currently enjoys 90% market share in search. That is Google. So the antitrust suit is going to be filed today from the Department of Justice. Markets this morning are higher. Futures pointing to a gain at the start of trading this morning, despite this decline in Google and some other names.
Sweden is the latest country to ban Huawei. On Tuesday, Stockholm said the Chinese telecom gear maker would not be allowed a role in its 5G phone networks. The ban also applies to rival Chinese firm ZTE. Swedish regulators said the move flows from security concerns. They described China as one of the biggest threats to the country. The ban follows diplomatic pressure from Washington and comes after a similar move by the UK.
Taiwan's representative office in Fiji held a National Day reception attended by more than 100 people, including 2 uninvited guests. According to a news blog called Grubsheet, 2 Chinese diplomats had crashed the event. They took photos of the participants and refused to leave after being asked to do so by Taiwan staff. A physical altercation occurred, leaving a Taiwan official with head injuries requiring hospitalization. After police arrived at the scene, the 2 Chinese diplomats claimed diplomatic immunity. The matter was dropped by Fijian law enforcement.
China is beefing up its coastal forces in preparation for a possible invasion of Taiwan. Military observers say that China has upgraded their military bases, moved their most advanced hypersonic missile to the area.
So much so that the majority of the people who live in Taiwan do not see themselves as Chinese. They see themselves as Taiwanese. And they do not want any part of the Chinese Communist Party. So President Xi has a choice to be made. He knows full well now that despite all the intimidation and coercion, Taiwan's not going to buckle. So is he going to force this by a blockade or by a limited attack to try to take down the national leaders and the legislature and force a surrender, or an all-out invasion? He has a number of options. His other options have not succeeded, and this remains to be seen. I think the United States should do something and do something very significant here geopolitically, and with our allies, make a statement that we will defend Taiwan.
So we heard there, Mayor Giuliani, we've heard the refrain over the course of the weekend that you're getting played. You're getting played by these emails. What do you have to say?
Well, I have to say they're desperate. And Joe is hiding in his basement. He probably went down one level below the usual basement now. It is true. They haven't denied their Hunter Biden's hard drive, his emails, his text messages, and his disgusting photographs. They are Hunter Biden's. There's no question. I mean, they might as well fight about it if they want, but they are definitely Hunter Biden's, and what they reveal is a 30-year pattern of crime on behalf of the Biden family. There's one text that tells it all. Hunter texts his sister, I believe, complaining about how he's been misused, which he has been, actually. For 30 years, he's been He's been basically a bagman for Crooked Joe. He gets the money. He has to split half of it with Joe. This is his explanation. And then he's got to take care of a lot of the family expenses. That's been Joe's pattern. I mean, he's been doing it since his crooked brother, James, who was a slimy lobbyist, was making little bucks in Delaware. They're just like little grifters in Delaware. Then he became a senator. They started making more and more. Then his son got out of school. He put him into a no-show job with a bank in Delaware, and they were collecting millions. And then they started collecting multiple millions when Joe sold us out in Iraq, Ukraine, Russia, and worst of all in China, where we now have documents showing that as recently as a year and a half ago, he was in business, Joe was, with a Chinese communist, 3 Chinese communists. He was going to get 10% of that business and 50% of the Biden family money. Everything I just told you comes from Hunter Biden, not me. It's on the hard drive. Why the FBI has covered it up for 7 months, you got to ask Director Wray. Maybe it's the same reason he covered up the Brennan admission that the whole Russia hoax was developed by Hillary Clinton to take attention away from her computer, which is in Brennan's handwriting. And I can't tell you, I'm beyond angry that as President Trump's defense lawyer, I was never shown that handwritten note. It would have completely exonerated him, saved America $40 million, and probably saved Papadopoulos and Carter Page and a lot of other people from having their lives ruined.
Well, it would have saved the nation a lot of anguish.
Joe Biden is a very well, he is not the nice man that he pretends to be. He's even a lousy father, because who takes a drug-addicted son and puts him in business with Chinese communists, the most crooked guy in Ukraine, the wife of the mayor of Moscow, one of the most corrupt women in Russia, and a friend of Vladimir Putin's? Who does that to a drug-addicted son but an extremely greedy father?
Wow. Giuliani, just before we get further into it, and I'm going to hand over to Jack Maxey in a second to get further into some of the details on this as well, including the latest from the Director of National Intelligence from this morning. We also had another bit of breaking news this morning. We have on the lead story on the National Pulse website the fact that the Debate Commission seems to have changed the debate topics for Thursday. Now, there was going to be, as we understand it, a very specific focus, as there usually is in the third debate, on foreign policy, but they put out the debate topics on Friday night, and they're now the same as the first debate, basically. Coronavirus, race relations. I mean, what say you to this? They've taken this debate and they've derailed it because, guess what? They don't want Joe Biden to have to answer to these emails.
I don't know what to tell you, Raheem. The corruption of the media is beyond anything I've ever seen. I mean, it is so obvious. It's been so obvious for a year and a half that Biden was involved in bribery in Ukraine, and now he's involved clearly in bribery in China, Russia, Iraq. I guess they're trying to cover it up as much as they can. I mean, I just don't get it. I mean, I've been a prosecutor almost 50 years. I've investigated some of the worst criminals in the world, including Nazis, who I prosecuted, and they were executed overseas. I've never seen anything like this. And Biden is really thoroughly corrupt, but the media, in some ways, is even worse. I mean, here they're trying to help a man get into the White House who's been a crook all his life. It started in law school, Raheem. The guy plagiarized in law school and cheated. I don't know, maybe you can get over that, but he didn't. It just got worse. And the more they enabled him, the worse it got. I mean, he is thoroughly confident that if he stays in that basement and he goes to that debate, his friends will protect him. And maybe it's the corruption of China. I mean, they all make big money in China. China owns Joe, lock, stock, and barrel. I mean, they've given him. Right now, I can count about $40 million that has gone into the Biden crime family from China. and I'm not even close to going through all the transactions. Gone through 2 of what look like about 10.
这里头啊，我们来说说啊，还要说说其他的料啊，给大家来听听啊，大家啊竖起耳朵啊，一定要竖起耳朵啊，要2个耳朵竖起来啊。这个亨特拜登啊，那次跟这个乔拜登，知道吧？他这个那是最早第一次到那里，就是跟着乔拜登。你知道他见的是谁吗？这个就见的车锋，就在哪里？就在盘古。就在盘古酒店啊，这里面，然后当时车锋是带着一个任务的啊，什么任务？把亨特拜登搞定。哎，宝宝是你知道吧？他任务是把亨特拜登搞定，但亨特拜登一坐下来，就张口就说：“哎呀，我很穷啊，怎么搞钱？我要钱，我看好某某房子，要1到2个亿美元啊，大概意思啊。”大概意思这样啊，有没有女孩？就是有没有美女啊？有没有女孩子？这个坐下来就开始，就那顿饭就吃了100多万人民币啊，就一顿，都是好酒，看了那好酒啊，基本上在美国从来没享受过的。这个车锋啊，这个当时就是我不会吧，这么容易我就，因为你知道中共的所谓的你看到的这些真正大佬都是啊。这个就是我们之前说过叫国际关系学院啊毕业，为什么他是秘密啊受训的，都是叫做特训班啊，对外叫做特殊人才班，对内其实就是特训班啊。大家记得以前有个科格博专门有个特训的，是吧？都是特训的，这里面学的都是哪些东西啊？学的在水里头，你怎么把这个鱼让它自己上钩，然后在野地里头，你怎么这个蛇啊到你身上，你怎么可以抓住啊？怎么吃老鼠啊？这是最基本的。然后怎么从就是人性上啊，迅速的抓住你要搞定的对象的弱点，是吧？你用各种方式抓住弱点，然后把它拿下。蓝、金、黄，是吧？女的怎么方式？所以说他说这也太快了吧，这根本这么主动，完全不叫上钩啊！你这个钩掉下去，完全是自己主动往钩上撞啊，是不是？这是第一次啊。
仅仅3周，瑞士已经从欧洲受影响最小的国家变成受灾最严重的国家之一。英格兰北部的南约克郡地区正实施该国最严格的限制措施，以遏制冠状病毒。西班牙已成为第一个确诊病例超过100万例的西欧国家。美国报告超过6万例新增感染。巴西卫生部部长病毒测试呈阳性。巴西总统博尔索纳罗拒绝中国的病毒疫苗。川普总统批准向台湾出售超过10亿美元的新式武器。埃克森美孚首席执行官警告说，将对美国、加拿大的员工进行裁员。
Dear mama, are you okay over there? Your son is crying and missing you, and sees you in his dreams. You sent take down the CCP, cause it's God's will, it's God's will. So I'll wait for you, and I'll see you when we end the CCP, yeah.